Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. The Grant.
My name is Niels Tudor Winter, and I am the creator, editor, and host of The Grant. The Grant is an independent, non-commercial podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system on topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. The complexity of the overwhelmingly large EU funding system is massive. In spite of standardization measures over the years and efforts to make funding more accessible from the EU Commission, the system has grown so big that it has proven almost impossible to make it simpler to apply for funding. It seems when one big measure from the EU Commission to simplify and standardize has been implemented, another bureaucratic or practical issue grows large and makes the overall experience for the beneficiaries more or less the same, complex and challenging to approach. The issues are manifold: rules for application, budget rules, submission systems, the lingo, the problems of identifying the right funding box, the unspoken rules that you need to know, and of course the often absolute necessity for paying an external consultant in order to deal with all this. This is a big topic to chew down, even in a long podcast format like The Grant. Maxence Viallon, Grant Finance Officer at the EIT Urban Mobility, has an opinion about this subject and makes an effort through his blog EU Funds Simply Explained to grow awareness within the EU Commission and among the beneficiaries. I invited him in for a talk about this fundamental issue of the whole EU funding system, and it ended up being a great conversation about shared frustrations, the big challenges within the system, and what the EU Commission is actually doing to minimize the effects of the complexity. Please enjoy.
The Grant. Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. I am keeping getting guests in. Today I have a guest on board that I picked up on LinkedIn, where I do most of my pickups. He has a blog that he runs once in a while, where he writes opinions about the EU funding system. And I thought that would be interesting to carry into this show to have a talk about that. Max, welcome.
Well, thank you, Niels. Thanks for having me here.
Now, before we share with the listeners what we're going to talk about today, maybe you shortly introduce yourself.
Sure. So thanks for having me. It was indeed nice to find you on LinkedIn and see that many people indeed fond of EU programs. My name is Maxence Viallon. Indeed, I work in European funds since now 9 years, more or less, especially on the framework program, back to FP7, H2020, now whereas in Europe. I worked in project management for proposal preparation, execution, implementation. Some years specialized on the communication, dissemination, exploitation work packages, where here I could really support the proposals. And now more on the finance-related part. I changed businesses throughout the years. And since a few years, I'm running a blog on EU funds. It's a personal initiative I wanted, also for personal interest. And yeah, glad I can tell you a bit more about this.
Yeah, it's we will get back to that in a second, but it's exactly this experience you have in different corners that has generated opinions about how the system works. I myself, as regulars know, and as we also discussed, I've also been in working with this for many years from different sides of the table, and I also have opinions about how things work. This is what sort of brought us together when we discussed this, because the blog was the I picked up and said, but maybe I want to give people a voice, right? So if they do something about in the EU funding world, I want to amplify things so people know about it, to let people even more, give a bigger audience. And it's I don't think I'm not going to say more about this because this is what we're going to talk about in a second. Just shortly, share where you work now.
I currently work at EIT Urban Mobility. It's a knowledge and innovation community, so one of the 9 EITs funded by the European Union. It's not the latest one anymore, but it's one of the new ones, and I work there since more than 2 years now.
Yeah, one of the European partnerships. I already had the innovation director,
Indeed, yeah.
director of innovation on my artificial ChatGPT episode. Actually, that is actually my most listened to. It's skyrocketed when I released that. It's almost gained 90, 100 listens, which is really top for my
Wow.
very quickly. Yeah, it's and he was great on board, Gareth. There, yeah. What's your responsibility?
There, I work especially on the finance team, and especially responsible for the grant management part. So everything that is related to the grant agreement, the payments, the rules, eligibilities, all this complex stuff about how and what entities should do to receive grants, public money. It's complicated, many rules. My job is to make them more simple. Also, then related, of course, to my blog, and yeah, it's a complex word.
Yeah, because you do your own calls, right?
Yeah, EIT remotely has its own calls.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're subjected to Horizon Europe rules in any case.
Yeah. But is it in the Horizon Europe work program?
Yes. It's I mean it's in the framework program. It's part of the Horizon Europe framework program, and then it's not in the pillar 2 where there are the different work programs. But here we're in pillar 3. The kicks are in pillar 3, so they're not part of any work program as such, but they have their own budgets and then run their own calls. We're kind of sometimes agencies but we're much more than that. But regarding grant distribution, we kind of do the same job as the commission on a lesser scale about distributing, managing the most promising proposals.
Yeah.
But the good thing about EIT is that it's much larger initiative. It's a network. We're much more flexible than just a public entity. Here we can do much more. The funding that also the partners are bringing makes our impact greater. It's a different mindset, really.
It's part of this whole. But this is actually part of what we're going to talk about. Is that you have different corners of the funding world. You have Horizon, and then you have in Horizon you have different corners. But you also have, if you look at the broader, if you zoom out, you have a whole jungle of funding schemes. So maybe we want to not leave the listeners in oblivion anymore. We discussed when I reached out, we had a talk about doing an episode, and then I always ask my possible guests if like what they would really most like to talk about, because that's always a good motivation. And you said I would like to have a talk about the system, and the complexity and
exactly.
and the over complex system that makes things a serious bottleneck for normal people in the real world,
exactly.
normal organizations in the real world to approach this. So that's also it's a baseline thing also in much of the time that I've been the organizations I've been working for as a facilitator. As a private consultant, you are praising the complexity because that's why you earn money. But as a public facilitator that wants to help people, it's really something you need to you're cursing it, because it keeps people away that has good ideas and could really do something. And even though it's not as complex as they would think, it's still complex enough. Yeah. So do you have anything sort of an entry point you want to make before we start to talk about it?
Well, I'm here first. Would like to show the balance of the situation. On the one hand side, we have public money, our taxes that go through different ways in the end into the EU budget, and we want to make sure our taxes that we pay have a great impact and it's well managed and it goes where it should go. It's not there's no fraud or it goes onto a great project for people that really deserve it, need it, and they can respond to our needs. Might it be social, environmental, health needs whatsoever to make our lives easier. So here, we as citizens are concerned and proud that our money is being well used. But the consequences of this is bureaucracy and rules. And rules in the end for the beneficiaries or for the entity receiving this grant that has um, shown a nice proposal that's won often very competitive call complexifies what it can do with this money. The process is complex in the entire process, especially for SMEs with whom I deal quite often because kicks are targeting primarily SMEs. What happens is, but it was also when in other calls and other jobs, that SMEs often are the backbone of the EU economy, and this is where the innovation happens, and they are so the main or one of the main targets for the EU to receive grants. But if they want to receive it, they have to follow these complex rules, this bureaucracy that is a necessary good. But the problem is when they see what they have to do to get this grant, sometimes they run away, they cry, they just don't understand how come it's that complex. And on the other hand side, I would like to uh, emphasize the fact that there has been a lot of effort from the institution to simplify this. It's not like, yeah, we're a public entity, we want to make it complex, and that's up to you to get the people specialized in European funds to get the money to manage it well, and so on. No, there's been some effort, and I think the institutions so also have been shortly been working there. Then use commission services are concerned about this. They want to make sure, of course, they have a good impact.
And they are.
Oh, they are, and the project officers. But it's a big machine. There are 30,000 people working there. Before it changes, it takes a lot of time.
We'll get back to that, but it's one of the key paradoxes. They so much want.
Yeah.
But the thing that they create is working against them. So it's
yeah, it's a kind of a paradox, and about rules concretely. When I talk to SMEs, how to use your grant, how to you should use the EU money. My reference is a 300-page document. Like SMEs do. Why do I need to understand this to get a few 10,000 euros of grant to make my project work? This is not fair. And here, there's, in my opinion, a certain lack of information of availability of information for SMEs or entities that do not have the staff like you, me, specialized in this field that cannot pay a full-time employee
exactly.
to explain them how this works and how it should do. So they need to hire consultants. Usually consultants are more expensive. It takes time.
Again, or they might even not have money for that.
Oh, they do. Yeah, indeed, because the cost of the consultant is not covered by the grant. So it's a bit of a trap here. So this situation I faced often, and my approach to come back also a bit about the blog, but it's also about a mission of helping on the one side the institutions about making their information more accessible, more transparent, was to make this information more accessible. And how do people look for information today? They search it on the internet, 90% through Google. And what appears in the first 2 or 3 results is the information they will use. And fortunately, today you can find even very precise information on the internet, or even how to change a window for your apartment. Everything's there.
Yeah.
And also, if your personal cost for Horizon Europe is eligible in the case of a project-based remuneration. Now it's fortunately available. But this was not the case a few years ago. You had to go through this document, this unpaid model grant agreement, interpret it, ask for questions. It's not perfect yet because there's still some information missing, and it's a blog is not a reliable source of information. You have to look at the source, analyze it, make sure it's indeed correct. But at least it's a first step, and as what numbers shows is that people use it, they need it, and there's a lack. I mean, it's information that is not easily accessible on the European Commission website. It's hidden in PDF documents. It's buried somewhere. It's complex.
And they do webinars, so you have that. You have their own YouTube channel. They have their YouTube channels and so on, where you have these information webinars, which are fine.
They're good.
They're very long.
They make a lot of efforts. They have highly specialist staff. But it's 2 hours, and sometimes you just need yes or no. Yeah, I have 5 minutes. I am a new project manager, also in European funds, a junior or a person that's never touched Horizon Europe before, or is not a super expert. Is this possible? I need an answer fast. I don't have the entire day to look around. I don't want to search through the model grant agreement during the entire week. Yeah. And here, coming back to artificial intelligence, what you were talking with my colleague Gareth a few weeks ago, here there's also a lot of potential to help.
Yeah, also for the Commission. But we'll get back to that.
For the Commission, but for the user,
But that the Commission can use it themselves and the users. We will get back to that. Also, the NTP system, and like all these support functions that you actually do have. But let's just start with here in the rundown the system. Yeah, so we try to sketch how the overall characteristic. And I know it's not that easy because it's big, but just sort of a trying to characterize what is it that we're actually looking at here. This proposal-based funding system for, and not only if we sort of really zoom out. So if we look at everything, not just research and innovation, but all in all, how the EU is distributing money to support activities.
EU has many funding schemes. The framework program is one of 30 or 40. There's Erasmus, there's DD Justice, there's Creative Europe, and so on.
Live Connecting Europe Facility. You have all sorts. And then we're not even talking about the tenders. Yeah. So, first and foremost, the system is proposal-based. Always need to submit a written text that is answering to a definition from the Commission. It can be loose, bottom up, not topic related. Like no tight definition. It can be open. Where you can totally define yourself, but you still have to follow some rules laid out for you on how to apply for the money. So it's based on a written document that you forward to an evaluation board of typically 3 evaluators. That is at least like this in Horizon proposed pillar 2, but then you have ERC, for instance. You have they evaluate over 2. You have different evaluators, but the point is that you will have more than one looking at your proposal. Yeah. And then you are rated through a point system, and it's varying what the point system looks like if you look at the whole system. But you get a grade, so to say, for different sections of what you have submitted, and then based on that, the best one receives the money. So to say. Now, this is a very simple and generalized definition of the system, right? Because it's within that box, there's a maze of all kinds of different rules for each funding schemes, things you need to be aware of, things you need to carefully read through and understand. It's not just necessarily cold text you need to read through. You also need to understand policy backgrounds, things that has been decided in the council, for instance, or policy documents that has been agreed on in the member states within a circular economy, for instance, or also maybe within your area, urban mobility, you will have some policy documents that you would refer to, that the applicants should be referring to or have in mind when they sketch out the idea they want to. Now, it's complex. This is where it starts to get complex, because it's if we zoom out, if we keep the zoom out, and look at the whole different, like the whole myriad of funding schemes, it's not standardized. So you don't have a standardized system. You might have standardized system within each, and then it might even differentiate. You might have within Horizon Europe, if we just keep talking about Pillar 2, you have some rules for the Horizon Pillar 2 that the Commission is launching or is responsible for, and then you have the ones that organizations like you, partnerships, they have sometimes little twists and twerks.
Yeah, it's published on different websites. It's the documents are different, the budgets are different, the objectives are different, time frames different, payment schemes different. Many things are different. Yeah, definitely.
So here you have, it's a system that has been built up that is huge if you look at it from that zoom out.
Yeah.
If you know exactly where you want to go, then it's easier. And even then, if you know where you're going,
specialized in Pillar 2 work for health, then you're specialized there, and then this is what usually people are. There are very few people that are able to jump from one funding program of the EU to another one, or maybe at a national scale. It's
but you have these funding schemes that overlap a little bit. So you will have Horizon overlapping with Life.
Exactly. There's
if you're having energy or circular economy, environmental area, and there if you move within those, or connecting your facility transport, right? Huge project of the innovation funds. Overlapping with, that's clearly overlapping in sector-wise with things in the Horizon Europe. And the point is that you would, if you come from the real world as a company or organization that is moving within a field where you have several funding possibilities, that's not easy, Max.
Yeah, because every time you have to specialize again and see how to get the funds there, what are the requirements and dates, and it's an investment for a company to make for its staff. That is quite important.
Yeah, and the thing here is that if you don't know anything about the system and you try to Google your way through it, or you try to enter, if you find, even if you have national NCPs, we'll get back to what they are for people who don't know. But even if you have using national support system, or people that is someone, you might still find it quite complex to find out this is that one that is fitting for me. And I don't know, it's everything is in goodwill. We just mentioned that in the intro, right? It's everything is done with such, even a big heart. It's really a politically, it's a huge effort to say we really want to support all good efforts out there, because we need you for growth, we need you for moving in the right direction with the environment, with so on and so forth. But for the users, all this good effort, it's like they're killed with love, right? So you have all this money that you can access, but if you don't know anything about this, or if you don't have, if you don't live in a country where there's a good, strong support mechanism from the government or regional authorities, free of charge, that guide you a little bit, it's you're just it turns off.
Yes, especially for SMEs. This is a bit where I empathize with them quite often, which are said the small medium-sized enterprises which heavily work on their projects, their objectives, but it's the learning curve for them is super steep, and the investment necessary to access those funds is high, and that's why actually consultants are often the magic formula. Although it comes at a price, it's reasonable, but without that, it's just not possible.
Yeah. I sort of kick myself over the leg here because but it's difficult to talk about this without starting to talk about the what we're the move on in the next block with all these complexities. But so yes, exactly. But the last thing I wanted to mention in relation to the system definition here, not only do you have all these different schemes, you have different rules, you have different and difficult, like entries, but you also have the shaping, of course. The Commission is very concerned that the money they give is balanced and calibrated with the actual needs within industry and research. So there's a whole system of input ecosystem, so to say, that feeds into the Commission in all kinds of structured manners. Feed into the Commission information on what is needed research and innovation within any socioeconomic area. And that the Commission wants so much to engage all relevant stakeholders, to have their say, to get all accessible information on what is needed out there. But and again, it's the same problem. What it does is that it is to understand where you can go, or to even know that you can go somewhere and share your opinion and it's being heard. It's
it's very complex. Yeah.
But the thing is, if you know where to go, it's not complex anymore. If you have someone guiding you, this is one of the things that I've been doing when I was a regional civil servant, a representative in Brussels, guiding stakeholders from the regions I was supporting to say, you need to go into this forum. This is a platform. This is a discussion forum that is vital for you to go into if you want to influence these calls that you will apply for later.
Yeah.
But if I didn't tell them, if I was not there to do the detective work, because it's an investigation you need to do to find this out and map it, then you could. It's not because you have to. Everybody out there that listens to this, we are not from the industry. Most people that listen to this, or from organizations that listen to this, are proposal preparers themselves. My dear listeners, we are all from the system that is dealing with this, so we can sit for an hour or two and investigate and so on and find out these things. But the users we are supporting, or we are not supporting it, but that we could support, that sit out there and try to figure this out, they have no clue.
No, it's a complexity that is quite astonishing. And even the one you mentioned about the early stages of call preparation, the influence an entity could have is even a few more steps deeper into complexity, into the.
But some, they really want to do this when they realize where they can do it. And then when you have guided them into this, suddenly they bloom like a flower. They suddenly, the network is European international network is opened up, and they realize how much it gives back to them that they are being part of this. So it's not just the being involved in shaping calls; it's also the network that generates so much added value to them as an organization. But again, if you don't know where to go, if you don't know how to find this, it's no. What I wanted to do now, because next block we will go into, is we're going to talk about the complexities, and as people can hear out there, it's a little bit overlapping because we'll dig into the complexities of how these things are in the system. But I wanted to ask you: do you have any points from one of your blogs that you want to make in relation to what we just discussed? Is there anything that is really on your mind that you have folded out in one of your blog posts on this?
I mean, there are many little complexities. The big ones about how to create a consortium, or like I'm an SME and I want to join a consortium to submit a proposal in this whatever call. This is a complexity which is just too great to explain. Here, a person responsible in the company hired to say get or develop the activities of R&D funded by EU money has no idea how this works. This is just hugely complex. It's long haul work. It's, as you said, about networking, about going to events, the right ones, getting in touch with local government agencies, NCPs, and so on. This really takes a lot of time. And to simplify this, I don't see here any big or any quick wins. What I started with are let's say the quick wins about this small complexities inside this very complex and long rules, especially for the execution itself of a project.
Yeah.
It's broader than just some financial or some management rules. I try also to go as broad as possible and to share my knowledge as openly as possible, what I could have accumulated. But what I see, what gets most interest are very, very basic questions. The blog posts that gather the most interest, the most views, are about how to create a PIC number.
Yeah.
Because it's simple on the funding and tenders portal, but if you've never done it and there's no manual, no guideline explaining it, because an SME should kind of try to manage to enter into consortium and is required its PIC number. The SME is like, what? PIC number? What is this? What is that?
Yeah.
How do I do it? Google it. And this has tens of thousands of views. Because apparently there's a lack of information here from the commission about how to do that. Hopefully it will change, so this article will disappear and will be forgotten. But this is a
I
big
can
need.
confirm it that it's my most listened to episodes. So I have my intro episodes. Of course, that's what everybody listens to first when they find out the podcast, right? But then I have the first episode after that is of course also on top, because that's the first episode they listen to after the intro. So it's about the basic idea that you get before you do a proposal. And then the number 2 most listened is how to read the call text,
which is just the first step, of
because it's not just
proposal
like this.
preparation.
It's reading the call text, if especially if it's a strategic call, a top-down call, with very detailed description of what you need to do. So the lingo and the complexity of sometimes the way they formulate sentences, that even if you have worked with this for as long as we have, you sometimes sit and stare and say, what?
Yeah.
And you need to find a project officer in the commission to understand what they mean.
To be positive, in my opinion, this is a good point. It marks the success in the objectives of the Commission, because one of the objectives of the Commission for Horizon Europe, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it is to increase the numbers of newcomers, so of entities that have never benefited from a European grant to Horizon Europe, because they know that many entities that innovate and have great potential never applied or got a fund from the EU. And in my opinion, so I remember from in the webinar, this was a precise target for the EU. And these are reflections that indeed there are people out there interested in EU funds and starting from scratch. And here it's we need to help them.
Yeah, actually, this initiative, this podcast, this has got it inside of, like, it's part of what I'm doing. It's to make
Exactly.
available this information for people that that you normally would need a consultant to help you with. And my former work, I asked them if they wanted to be P&O, if they wanted to join to be on the show once in a while. They refused because they consider it that it's something that's in competition with them, what they're selling as a company, right? But it's so I thought, well, okay, it's not going to give you less clients, on the contrary. But that's one point. But the other point is the ones that I want to help, they don't have the money to pay you anything. You're never going to get them as clients. This is for people. This is for Europe. Like, it's for everybody out there that do not have funds or who wants to get information that should not be complex to get. Yeah, I try to make it accessible.
For me, it's about ethical principle that it's public information. It should be easily accessible. Efforts are being made to do so, but it's not fully fulfilled. And retaining or trying to make people pay for this information, for me, is problematic. So here, ethically, I defend that as it's public information. It's come from our taxes. We have already paid for this. We shouldn't be paying a second time for that. Information now is freely available. This was in the 90s, where indeed information was hidden. So there's still information that might have a value in per se, but now it's about the service you sell. You don't make money as for hiding information and selling it.
No.
For me, we have to go beyond that. Internet has completely changed that. Company that still doesn't make the change, they will have to do it soon enough, because this is not the real value that you can sell and bring to a client.
With that entry comments, if we look at the complexities that makes these things difficult. So one thing that we just mentioned is the call rules, right? It's it is something that just you're like, if you don't have a guide, if you read these things without knowing anything about this world, it's complex on so many layers.
Sure.
Even if you do have a work program
Yeah.
in your hand as a PDF document, and you start to look up the information in the work program, you will be puzzled about, but where's the deadline, for instance? Yeah? So you find the call, but where do you find the deadline? And then you start to, and then it's sometimes they put it in the back, but it's not always in the back. It's sometimes they put it in sections. So the deadlines is in a table in the end, and you need to see, okay, so where's my call number?
Yeah.
And you need, that simple thing. Now, this is, of course, people say, but why don't you use the participant portal? Now, the participants portal, it's a wonderful tool, but you need training in using it.
Yeah, it's
complex. From my point of view, you don't just register yourself, get a profile in the participants portal, and then you just surf.
It's not Facebook now.
Just surf in there. It's just cool, man. I just get all the information I need in 5 minutes.
I post my post. Hey, I look for a consortium. Please like if you want to join me. Now,
it's trying to make a complex system accessible, but it's not.
No. It's
for us professionals that knows how to use it. It's fine.
Yeah.
But if you're not, then.
If we compare it to the former version, when it was indeed called the participants portal, today's version, funding and tenders portal, to be correct.
Sorry, yeah.
It says indeed improved. The layout is better. There are more options, more modules. There is a way to find partners, although it's maybe it's 100% efficient, but
No.
there are ideas from the commission service, in my opinion, that have been implemented. Some are good, some are not that good. It's also the respond to needs, and not everything works all the time. Different story, but I'm not sure if you've been acquainted with Europass, the platform for CV and everything. It just started as a kind of shitty CV layout, which nobody used, and lastly, they improve it a lot. It's a great platform where you have your own profile, which is LinkedIn, but much larger in terms of your profile. You export your CV in the way you want. You have different designs, which are really nice. And for me, it's a success story. It took them maybe 20 years to get there, but it's a free online tool. And I was like really well surprised at how what they did in the end.
Just to explain to the listeners, this is a platform where it's sort of your commission's official curriculum platform where you can make your CV, and you have all the categories that if you apply for a position anywhere within the European Commission system, this is the CV standard that they require that you forward when you apply for jobs.
The standard also has been, in our Kickstarter, this EU bubble, this Europass standard has become widely accepted, even outside. And they've done a really great job. And coming back to the funding and tenders portal.
But that's good. But that's also an easier thing to deal with, because what I was just thinking about the portal, the funding tenders portal, right? It's I would not like to sit in that ICT department.
No, it's a monster
to do this.
It's
because this is what I've always been trying to propagate in relation to the EU funding system is try to standardize all the funding schemes, put them in the same place, and they've actually been trying to do that.
And they've done. They start to merge step by step
from Framework Program 7 to the shift to Horizon 2020, the predecessor to Horizon Europe. They made a huge effort to get the funding schemes into the same portal, into the same system.
Yeah.
So the users from different systems would have the same entry and the same sort of ball game, the same fenced pitch to do these things. Which is they should have been forced, all of them, to go into this, because that was. But what happened back then, and I remember clearly, some of the DGs did not want to because of political reason, right? So they fight in between them. They put fence around their own funding scheme. No, we don't. So what happened was you had some moving into the same, and then you had the rest. That, for instance, the LIFE program. One of them. Meaning, still, so you would have now like a block of different funding schemes in the funding portal there, where you just have to submit a PDF version of your written proposal, and then you fill in the budget and so on online. And then if you want to apply for LIFE funding with a complementary technology or whatever, then you need to go for a system that is online based, where you need to fill in boxes with character limits. You cannot, so you need to copy paste your text from your Word document into boxes. And in the nightmare you will go through, I've been there, the nightmare you go through when you are moving towards the end and submission, where you constantly change things to understand which section has been changed and which ones has not. It's, but they don't want to. It's still like this.
I remember the 2010 something, which was still paper based for LIFE. Horizon 2020 was already everything electronically, but LIFE was paper based, and sending and receiving the reporting, the grant by post. It was quite
It's
very
like
well started.
it's like a Germany on steroids. Yeah.
Although French people love going to the post office, they love it.
Also Germans.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Deutsche Post is one of the most well-functioning post companies in the Europe. You know, it's Germans love paper. They love letters.
I didn't know from which country bureaucrats got their love for this paper.
But French
Oh,
French probably also have a certain veneration for the signatures and the stamps
oh
and
yes,
the physical documents.
yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry, any Germans, French out listening out there, but this is it's funny because it's true.
I'm almost half French. I'll take that.
I I really would like the commission to succeed with making this complex system easy and accessible for everybody. Right now, I've been bitching about that they cannot streamline the funding schemes and just make the same baseline conditions of how you apply. Okay, you might have your different rules on funding rates and all the other things, but at least for the submission, if you could, they could just for the submission part say,
We will get to there. I'm confident. There've been efforts in the last years. It takes time. It's a big machine, but I'm confident that some people they have clear targets. Takes time to turn a boat, a huge cargo boat.
yeah. Okay, so that's that.
Let's be
Then
positive on this.
then we should maybe cover the lingo, the language of funding.
Yeah,
Because what you start realizing when you enter into this profession with dealing with EU funding, did so myself in 2008, and it takes a long time to adjust your normal brain from the real world to the funding language world.
yeah. You have to learn a list of vocabulary. Like when you learn a new language, you had in the old times a list of vocabularies. Here it's the same. You have to know what
Yeah,
are the concepts of eligibility costs, or what is a natural person, what are internally invoiced goods. Think
yeah,
that
but also
words make sense and such, but then what is behind is a complex
yeah, but
story.
that's it. Then you have normal English words like impacts,
Uh,
or but then you have the definition of. So you need this whole you have words that if you come from an outside and read it, say okay, that means that. Now wait a minute, it's not just you need to read a lot of stuff here to you need someone to translate for you what they actually mean with this word
yeah.
and what is supposed to be folded out if you want to describe anything around impact. I actually made a full episode with a journalist who's been a journalist in Brussels that was making for regional representation, writing stories to the stakeholders and the region back home in a normal in a normal language.
Yeah.
I always called it, like it's two different. It's like it's separate. It's a parallel world, the funding world. Nobody on in the real world, they know what's going on in the funding world. Very few.
Yeah.
And to translate that into norm, to get over that wall or break through that wall, it requires a lot of translation and pedagogical, I guess, capacities to be able to to do that, because it is translating things.
Yeah.
You know.
There, especially it's on world evaluators want to read certain type of concepts. If they don't read them, they don't will evaluate the proposal correctly because it responds to the work program itself. It's a circle, and it has its own rules. A word that has
Yeah.
also own rules.
And critical listeners out there will say, but that's you cannot translate. You have the lingo of the research area. That's not what we're talking about. No, that's not that at all. It's about the words, in the descriptive words in the code text about what you need to do in, like, it's not about the description about what kind of specific research or innovation you need to carry out, where you sometimes, of course, in ICT and health, you have very like sector specific language, technical language, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the description, the descriptive language about what you're supposed to do with that.
Yeah.
And it's even if you do understand that, and you do start to you do have help, for instance, or you have coordinator that actually understands these things in the proposal process and so on. When you move into it, because it continues, so when you move towards submission process, you will move into the submission portal, and you will also run into things there that you need to what does this mean?
It has to fit to a specific frame, that where there are people that are specialized in reading proposals and correcting them, not all parts, not necessarily scientific part, but persons with great experience in EU funding. They can read a proposal about chemistry of or health or whatsoever. It should fit the frame that is being required, because if not, the proposal might be as good as it is, it will not pass if it's not framed to what it should be. It has its own rules. It's like a French dissertation. It has its own structure. In Germany, it might be it's different. Here, the EU Commission has set its frame, and we did indeed have to follow it if we want to go through it.
Yeah. It's they decide. It's their money, so to say.
Yeah.
It's our money, but it used to be ours downstairs, and they want to give it back.
That's complex to help here SMEs in this field. It's very complex too, because it's highly specialized work that cannot be simplified by just some blog post around here.
No,
this is really
you need someone who knows
that you sell knowledge, experience that really improves the quality of your work. This is a great value here.
And it's, if you don't know, it's just, I just thought of another thing. You have all these things that have importance for different DGs that has or different interestees within that specific sector that has been written in as sort of appendixes or things that you need to be aware of in the specific call text, or in the generalized. So, for instance, the gender part has grown, right?
Yeah.
And that is it's okay. I don't have a problem with that. I just had an episode on that with two guys who's working with these things. So that's fine. But the thing is, if you don't know, if you come from the outside world, it's suddenly there when you have to write. And suddenly say, what do we need to say about? And it comes from a context that people don't understand.
Yeah.
It's the same with open source.
Exactly.
Yeah. It comes from a political discourse somewhere in the commission that said, this is what we want in this parallel world of ours. We want this to move in this direction. So someone somewhere in the system, it's being pushed in and needing to be there. But then it stands like that. And if you don't know about these things, if you come from outside and you apply for the first time, you look at this, it's difficult to be able to respond to it with a meaningful written reply if you don't understand the background and why it's there.
Yeah, but it has its reasons, because the commission services thought, okay, we have to improve data transparency and accessibility, because it's public money that has been invested to create this data. Yeah. We should not pay again for it. Again, it's already there. So this way they create all this data management plan and so on. For some projects, it's not very relevant because there's no data necessarily created. As there is always, but not in some projects. There's here huge amounts which can be then heavily reused in other projects. So it's here really important that they implemented this. Or for the gender equality plan, I mean, we have only 1/3 of researchers that are women in Europe, and 2/3 are men. Although studies show that should rather almost maybe be the opposite, that women
Mhm.
in the STEM fields perform slightly higher. So here
Yeah.
we say if we want to make progress as a society, we have to impose our impose higher standards. We have to push entities to go into this direction. Uh, these are different tools but it's difficult for entities when they face these challenges. It's difficult. It's another
But
burden.
that's all good. It's more when you come in technically when you technically sit and write the proposal, if you haven't done this a lot, if it's the first time you do this, or if then you suddenly run into this because all the intentions. It's I support everything in this respect, and I understand because I've been working with this for years, so that's fine. But if you want if we think about the ones that do not know or have not been involved, and then they have to decipher how to respond to these things, yeah, without if they have to they cannot
Yeah.
they can do it without help, but it's not going to be competitive compared to proposals where you have a professional who knows exactly what's right there.
Yeah.
And that's not
Definitely.
and that's again a paradox because it's good intentions. It's really I have so much sympathy with the system, what the commission wants with it, where it's going. It's they really do a big work to reach people and to do the right thing and push for the right agendas, to be on the forefront with these things, but it makes things complex to approach.
Yeah, definitely.
And then besides from this, you have all the unspoken rules. I've been working as a private consultant in piano for 4 or 5 years, and it was often like this. You need to check with colleagues that had some ears on some pipes, listening pipes, say, is there anything specific here we need to be aware of? Yeah, you need to, because this was pushed. This call was pushed by this and this stakeholder, and they emphasized the importance of this and this. So when you do a proposal, you need to twerk it this way. You could not decipher that from the call text, right? Or
No,
these kind of
it's not.
things where you and the winners and that's
Super
also and the commission, they don't like to hear this, but it's the truth. Sometimes you do have calls that are being designed for specific continuations of initiatives,
Yeah.
and they're not supposed you're not allowed to do that in the after the commission's own rules, right? It's competitive money. Yeah, everybody should in principle per se be able to approach the calls without any bias. But there were some consortia I was trying to build up towards some course where my colleague said, look, stop it, it's already sold.
Yeah.
It's because there's a consortium and they want to continue them to continue doing this. I even managed to get on the on the reserve list number. Like we got the same points as the winning or something like this, but they for exactly something like this.
Yes, because if you're not in the consortium of the previous project that built already maybe this prototype or whatsoever, has the knowledge of the first project, it will make any sense of starting again from scratch. It's a bit the paradox of this competitive money, that sometimes a direct award will actually make more sense, because if you have a project that has been working really well and um, maybe more funds could bring it to
Mhm.
next level. Of course, this public money should be competitive. These are the rules established today in our world. But here it sometimes reaches its limits, where you say, "But just, I mean, they've demonstrated they've done already a great work. Maybe a direct award. There are sometimes some ways, some memorandum of understandings, but tenders,
Yeah.
yeah, it was difficult. Unfortunately, these are very few cases, and there are compromises being found.
Yeah.
But yeah, system reaches its limits here, in my opinion.
Now it's getting a little bit more blurred, our rundown here, because I actually put that we need to talk about complexities and then talk about the effects that it has. But it's all mixed a little bit of it. Doesn't matter. The conversation is good. What I wanted, because what I didn't manage to put in the rundown last night, what sort of solutions do you have there now? What can you do actually? But we are sort of mixing it in here. So maybe we should, because I had exactly here what you said here, in that where Gareth McNaughton was in my episode on AI and ChatGPT and proposal writing. One of his points was maybe the commission should go away from this competitiveness around calls. He thought as he said, look, why don't the commission use artificial intelligence to get a definition of what would be the best consortium construction, which concrete partners and setup would be the best to solve this problem
based on past projects executed.
Yeah. Or if you have artificial intelligence that is getting better and better, that can suggest what would be the best one to solve that in a partner value chain, then. But of course, it's a system where you would do they want to do?
Yeah.
Do they want to do it? But the point is that exactly what you said now, because you create a system where the basic rule is competitiveness, but sometimes you don't need that.
No, of course.
As we have experienced, they want to continue it, get return of investment, and not lose transaction costs on another consortium continuing it because they wrote a better proposal.
Yeah,
and that's the thing, and that's also what we talked about in that episode. But why is it? You develop a proposal over what? If you are fast 3 months, if you are well prepared 6 months, and then based on little twerks and little asterisks, you get a little less points than the one that win, and then you're out. And the point from Georg was that, but wait a minute, why don't you get back? Why don't getting back to some of the ones that really did a great job for their proposal? Said, look, this year, can you work that out for us a little bit? Can you fold that a little bit more out? Can we, giving a possibility to getting out of the strict format of a proposal, but say, look, this is great, but we just need. Can you fold it? And then, it's a straight jacket that is.
This would need the creation of a kind of parallel system, because currently the DGs make the policies, their proposals evaluated by external experts, and then the agency runs the projects and so on. Mm-hmm. But this would need a parallel system of who somebody maybe in the DG decides actually this project should just get a direct award because it has shown some value, and we get out of the complete process that is being established and runs billions of euros and is heavily established and well processed. But this would leave actually room for maneuver for projects being funded that might not deserve it, for actually room for corruption. And in our neoliberal world, it's the big enemy. It still happens, unfortunately, sometimes. But opening this door is, from our point of view, the room for corruption. It's the same example when in public or semi-public entities you have an interim CEO in the KICs. Look at the chief executive or chief staff that are interim in the creation of the KIC, and 6 months, 1 year after the creation, they become fully CEO, COO, whatsoever, because they apply to their own position. They were interim because they won the proposal, and they present themselves to their own position. And this happens a lot in public entities and universities and ministries in many countries in the European Union. And this hiring process is totally fake, because this person has been working in its own position, sometimes for several years, and they can finally have their indefinite position after a fake hiring process. But although it can be quite tough, there's merit behind this. But all the other applicants had no chance, except there was a big problem. But and here's a bit, what's the point of it? This person has showed its capacity in doing his job. What's the point of creating a process and sometimes false expectancies for others?
Yeah, that's public positions, right?
This is the best exam you could have. One person working on this job. Sometimes somebody evaluates him externally. Okay, it's a great project. A great person having done its job.
Where the point came from when we talked about that was the baseline was that we were talking about the ChatGPT, and that it would be much easier to write proposals, and the scenario that the commissions will receive many more proposals, exorbitant amount of proposals compared to now.
If you're an evaluator, it's good time for lots of work,
because you have consultants that will work with this tool, right, and professionalize it and industrialize it. So why would you not submit, say, 20 proposals or 50 proposals in a call round if it takes the same effort as writing 2 proposals? Because that with the success rates, then it's much easier for you to get the funding, right? But in the it's going to break the system.
Yeah, if indeed I mean, it's
so this is what we came from, where you say, but then the proposal, if this is what happens, if this is the future that the commission is looking at, we're all looking at, the effect of artificial intelligence, then they need to rethink the system.
Then they might use artificial intelligence to evaluate the proposals. So it's the game of the hide and seek.
Yeah, we also talked about this, but then it loses the whole point. Yeah, then it's the AI against AI. Yeah, who can define the best question to the chatbot?
Yeah. This is for the proposal phase. My part about the blog, which I'm more interested in, is rather the execution phase, is then how AI indeed could also help a project manager to make sure it manages well its projects and avoids mistakes. If you ask today ChatGPT, hey, how do I justify personal cost in Horizon Europe? It will give you a quite good answer. So people might not look that much on Google in the future, but and not find my articles of my blog on youfunds.me, but rather go to ChatGPT and have the formula for calculating personal costs. Oh, that's how to do it. Oh, that's great. And maybe the AI might even give you the timesheet and the formula, everything calculated. So here there's a great room for potential improvement, and actually for making YouFans more accessible. So for this part, I see it more beneficial for entities.
I think it's a game changer in relation to everything we just talked about.
Yeah.
Because if you, one of my contacts and who was in the panel of that episode, Christian Semlik from Slovenia, he's an independent consultant. Him and his wife has a consultancy company and write proposal mainly for startups, entrepreneurs, stuff like this. But he has gone full force on understanding how the tool works, making his own chatbots, making his own, defining them fitting to the work as a proposal writer. And he's sharing it transparently on LinkedIn, how it works, linking to them. And he said he doesn't, the questions he get as a consultant on what are the funding rates, where do I find he made a chatbot that can reply to these things, so he doesn't have to deal with them, because he doesn't want to deal with them as a consultant. It is waste of his time as a consultant. Again, referring back to my old employer, I said it's taken away our work. No, it doesn't. This is things you should not earn your money. If you're that afraid as a consultant that this is going to, then you're not confident with what you do as a consultant, if that's supposed to destroy your business. The point is that it's so complex. There will always be a need of a good consultant to shape
Oh yeah,
things,
definitely.
how to use the system, how to deal with these things, so they don't have to be afraid of of um, of their work. What they have to do, they need to adjust what they work with this, and how they can give added value to shaping a good proposal, having the right network. ChatGPT cannot find personal contacts of yours.
No, no.
ChatGPT cannot understand human psychology. Is this a good group? Is this a bad group? ChatGPT cannot negotiate a budget for a group in a complex situation. So you will always have things where psychology is needed, where human understanding and social interaction is needed to make the best proposal. But all the
No.
stuff that takes such heartbreaking resources out of people, identify this, understand what on earth is meant, writing the text and shaping it to have this exactly the right point in short and concise language, so it's understandable. That is something that Gareth said. Look, whatever I read from ChatGPT, whatever I see of examples, it's much more structured and coherent and understandable for me than the things I get in for our EIT urban mobility calls. So why would we waste time on doing that? Let that right in. Then of course you have of course things you cannot share. You have sensitive things that you would not put into a chat GPT.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And for those things, you need to sit as a consultant and work and work with these things, or professional to put things together. But for all the text, descriptive text about things, for Christ's sake, use these systems, use these opportunities, because it's not gonna get easier. We are sitting here and calling for the commission to make it, to make this we're asking them possible, right? We're asking them to make all this complex system simple, but it's not going to happen, because it's not possible to make such a complex system simple, right?
They can make it more simple, but super simple like Facebook. No, this is not going to happen. It's impossible. It won't make any sense. And I mean, if we're talking here about the most prestigious funding scheme in the European Union, and in one of the, if not the richest regions in the world. It's fortunately it's complex, and in the sense it means also it's of high quality. No, not anybody can just ask for funds and run away with it. It's a gauge of quality, of integrity, of impact in the end. So yeah, it has its limits. It cannot be super simple. Or it's been specialized staff, and each one of the persons involved in this complex project has to adapt to changing environment. It's changing faster and faster. The ones who's changing, who's not adapting, will be left out.
It's the leaf fence and the wind turbine, right?
Exactly, or it's the evolution of species.
Yeah, exactly. And as Georg said on that episode, who cares if the grant writers are going to be gone?
Yeah.
It's as he said, compared it to the couplers or the if professions you don't need anymore. Yeah, it's who cares? It's if the job can be easier done something else, that's good. Now, if we look at what the commission is doing, so we talked a lot about, and we actually been patting the commission's back a lot here, right? They actually do one of the lump sum that they have rolled out. It's been there in little corners of FP7 and Horizon 2020, right? And you had I remember you had some corners of the SME program. You had some places, little corners where you had a lump sum approach.
Exactly.
But now they rolled it out much more broadly. It's not overall, it's not everything, but it's pretty. There's a lot of sections in the program where. Do you know actually how much it is? Because I'm
only lump sum projects. the sum? No, I don't know. I'm not, as you say. I know it's in different parts.
No. I mean, in the work programs
In general, which the sum of lump sum? No.
in Horizon Europe, is it? Have they applied? So you don't know how much they have applied it throughout.
No, I
pillars.
know they've applied it in the Marie Curie pillar of actions, Marie Curie actions.
Yeah.
For some projects, as you said, in some corners, they precautious about it because it has, of course, some advantages, but also some risks. Commission, again, moves slowly, but they're having good ideas. Lump sum is a good idea. We're also implementing it in EIT Urban Mobility to test it.
Yeah.
See how it works. It has many advantages.
In Erasmus Plus, so for the education, and vocational training at university, there I know because I've just have guests in introducing it, introducing the program. So that's actually quite extensive now in that program, the lump sum approach, and it's very. I need to do an episode actually on it for my listeners to understand. But in short,
Erasmus students receive the grant as a lump sum as such. They don't need to report on what they do with this grant when they are on the year abroad. But yes, on a higher level.
In the collaborative projects, on youth and sports and stuff like this, we actually my work we've been invited into one, and it's like this. You just give a box of money, and then you have of course to justify the amount, but you don't have to justify how you spend it.
No, you just show your results.
As long as you do what you do, as you promised, as you have the results then they don't ask any questions. You don't have to send. That's also reporting. There's no reporting.
Only performance report.
Yeah, you don't have to report. You don't have to send back financial reporting detailed on, and you don't have to keep the receipts from traveling, all these things, which is of course a lifesaver for many. It's Are there any other things in relation to good news, so to say, or things that where you can say, okay, it does help? So maybe we should mention the people that can guide you. So you have the national contact point system. All countries are obliged in the EU. But also associated countries and New Zealand, Australia, countries that can approach the funding schemes. They have a national contact point system with people that is allocated to specific areas that can guide researchers and companies on how to approach the funding schemes. So that's free of charge. It doesn't cost anything anywhere. So that's supposed to be a service a public service that you can approach. And you can Google this and find the ones. Or maybe I should put it on my website actually. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll put. I just decided that because there is a site where you have an overview of the countries into piece. So that's a way to go. Then some countries they have representations in Brussels with people, not like non-profit people you can approach that supports with finding proposals you can join for you or finding out the calls, so on and so forth. That's but it's not a lot of countries because it's an expensive effort, right? So you have Denmark has, Norway has, Sweden has, the Netherlands they have, Germany has, but I'm not sure how, because their efforts in Germany, you have the different states, local states, they have public-private offices. Sort of. It's in the south, Spain, Italy, no chance. Eastern Europe, they might have offices in Brussels, just like also Southern Europe, but they don't have this. They don't offer this service where they guide you through everything like this. Then you have the innovation clusters. They normally work for their members, but you can be lucky. Sometimes they help you also if you're not. But the point is that they often their role is to support a specific sector with innovation, research and innovation, and part of that would also be commercial collaborations. But they also support members with some of them with approaching EU funding. Then you have industry associations. Some of them, for instance, the Euro Heat and Power, District Heating, European Industrial Association, they have a department of people that support with EU funding for their members. Wind Europe, the Wind Energy Industrial Association, I actually also think they have dedicated people helping with this. But this is again. Then again, I open up a new box for with the last part here. The NCPs, it's easy because but the last part here is another complex thing you need to understand and look into to get help. But it's just but what about the ITs? Do you support do you give help? Do you support stakeholders within urban mobility, for instance, and do you give them advice on where to go if they want funding?
Well,
is that your role?
No, this is not our role. Our role is to try to gain them as partners, to make them enter into our partnership model, and then offer them our carte of services. Along this of services, might it be benefiting indeed from EIT grants or services we sell to companies, joining our Horizon Lab, which is our team to present proposal for Pillar 2 on the Horizon Europe, and so on. So this is then our role. If it's about how to get funding in Horizon Europe, no, not as such. We first integrate them into our partnership. And then once they're partners, then they ask a lot of questions about how Horizon Europe works. And this is indeed a role we have, and I have in particular, explaining them how Horizon Europe works and how they should do to make sure they get the best out of the grants and not make any errors, because errors can be costly.
On that note, Max, I think we should slowly wrap it up. I always have a segment in most of my episodes called the toughest challenge, but you have a lot, but what's the toughest one? Talking about going from the real world, so to say, and approach the funding system. What's the toughest challenge?
I mean, toughest challenge for me was, as I was working, my first job is in an SME. We're about 20 persons, so it was small, a startup. And very innovative, working in the fields of video, automation with scripts and so on, the applications, really good. And this entity had no idea about funding, European funding. They managed to get some national fundings, but when it come to European funding, that a great load of potential, but nobody knew anything about nothing in the company. And I was the one in charge. I look if there's something for us, and there are millions of SMEs in Europe. This is the backbone of our economy, and many are very innovative. Not if you go out a bit of the standard business, there are many companies like this. We were different companies in the hub like this, and it's tough. I have to run around here and there, try to talking to people, but the information was sparse on the internet. We're talking to people, and toughest challenge is that you have such a company that is innovative, and the money should not drop from the ceiling, but be able to come faster and easier, not with a huge investment that a company should pay 5,000 euros to an external consultant. Try to find me maybe some European fund, and in the end, maybe I paid you 5,000 euros, but nothing comes out because the proposal has been rejected, which SME like this cannot afford. So this is, in my opinion, the toughest challenge. SMEs are the one of the objectives for EITs, but also for us in Europe, newcomers. So it's one of the main objectives, and making them EU funds more easily accessible is, in my opinion, here toughest challenge.
Yeah, it's I'm not going to share what I think about toughest challenge, because I think maybe it's the system as such that is the toughest challenge. That it's that you enter into a world that you have no idea of, and that there's so many elements that is so. Yeah,
comes back to the same point.
Exactly. But in relation actually to this, with when I was having a job where I would have to or try to convince stakeholders in regions to go and do this, we would always say, look, you might not get the money, but the effort that you put into this is something that was going to come back to your network. You might even get commercial collaboration with the people you collaborated with. It is often what happens with these failed consortia, failed proposals, that if you suddenly get into a group of people that you would never be able to get into a group with normally. And that value is when you have surveys that the Danish government is doing on this, the ministry that works with this, it's always that they come back with. It's not necessarily the funding itself, the money, but it's more the network and the internationalization that has opened up for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed.
No, on that note, thanks for coming around.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It was nice having this nice chat.
Indeed. And I would say that, first of all, I would like to put in the episode notes the link to your blog, so people can check that out.
It's eufunds.me.
And then I always give the possibility for people to come back.
Great.
Into the virtual podcast studio, so that we will stay in touch. And if there's anything, I keep growing my my list of people who's been in here, and sometimes I can say, you know what, I'm doing something like this. Would you like to be on a panel or something like this? So definitely we will. This is not the last time I will have an episode related to this.
Great.
So this, because it always comes up. So it's so this is definitely a candidate for such a panel.
Great.
I'm just going to land the plane of the episode before we say goodbye. So, dear listeners, thank you so much for listening to the end. I appreciate immense all the support I get through my communication channel, LinkedIn, and the feedback I get from elsewhere on emails and so on. It keeps growing the attention of what I do, and it's the whole point is to reach as many as possible that can take advantage and added value in the work you do in your daily work with working with this, no matter if you're a proposal writer or working in a facilitation job or something like this, or even in the ecosystem in Brussels or in the commission. So I'm very happy to see that it is sinking in and people start to listen more and more to this. If you're not connected yet, connect with me on LinkedIn. Find me, Niels Tudor Winter. You should be able to find me if you found this podcast. Find me there, because that's where all my communication goes, and that's where I run my likes and sharing on lots of things related to EU R&D funding, naturally. So do that. Then I always have to remember to guide you to my website, thegrant.eu, where you will find my the subscription to my podcast. That's the best way for me to grow the podcast. That is to get subscriptions. And actually, I actually have 99. So I'm looking forward to rounding that 100 people on my email list. Please, nice. Well, it took a year to build that up, right? So but it's slowly gaining, and actually I have very few unsubscribers. I think over the time I have 2 or 3 that unsubscribe, but so I must do something right there. Yeah, I think that was pretty much it. Did I mention everything I need to mention? I think that's it.
Great.
Max, thank you so much for coming by.
You're welcome.
Say hi to Gary, and let's say goodbye to the listeners. Bye.
Bye bye.